Okay, we're live. Hi, everyone. I'm Candace. And with me, we're just going to go across the video. So Maggie's next.
Hi, I'm Maggie. I'm with the Star Wars Friends podcast.
Hi, I'm Alberto from the Radio Rebellion podcast.
Hey, I'm Andrea from the GALactic Podcast.
Hey, I'm Olivia from Sistas with Sabers podcast.
Hey, it's Maria from Sistas with Sabers Represent.
Lauren Romo from the GALactic Podcast.
Oh, yeah. And I'm Candace from the Geeky Waffle podcast, which I did not say because I was so distracted. But we also are here promoting our trans rights, our human rights. This is a way. GoFundMe. We recently got $10,000, but we're still... Let's get to 11,000, right, Maggie?
Yeah. The sky is the limit. We know what the Star Wars fandom has been able to do in the past.
Yeah. So we are... The link is in the summary. So you guys can see that there. But let me just do our quick little intro. Okay, so we're here to talk about the Siege of Mandalore arc. Yes, and we have our baby Yodas as emotional support because this makes me feel so many things.
So many feelings.
So many feelings. And it's interesting to watch this finally like all together because like here at the Geeky Waffle, we've been doing each episode of Star Wars. And I was like talking to Lauren, I'm like, Siege of Mandalore is like a movie. Like this is cinematic. This should be in the theaters, right, guys?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, yesterday was the first time I watched all 4 episodes back to back, and it does feel like a whole movie, and you can tell each act and everything works so much better instead of just having to wait the whole week. Works great as a whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do you guys remember waiting a whole week to see? Well, luckily we had May the 4th, so things. But yeah, that was like, it's really hard to wait.
Yeah, painful.
Mm-hmm.
So this arc was talked about a lot before when Clone Wars got canceled, when Disney bought Star Wars. And we've been waiting for this, guys, right?
For so long. What, like 5 years? 4 years?
Yeah.
Time no longer exists.
No,
It's
yeah.
hard to know.
And it's briefly mentioned in like, well, the prologue of the Ahsoka novel, which is kind of recalled.
Yep, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just a little.
But it's totally worth it. So let's start out with Old Friends Not Forgotten. And that's honestly like the scenes I was waiting for. Anakin and Ahsoka finally being reunited. Tears, guys.
Do you remember you guys? So what was it? San Diego Comic-Con 18 when they did that little
18.
quick teaser?
Yes, ma'am.
Man, it was that got me hyped. I remember that we had to wait 2 years to get this thing. So that's even, or yeah, like was it 2 years or a year and a half to finally see that?
Yeah.
And to get that trailer and see, and they even showed that Anakin and Ahsoka moment. Like, do you guys wish that would have been held back? Or I was okay with seeing it in that teaser because there's so many more great moments. But man, that was in the whole context of the beginning of the episode, and when him and Ahsoka see each other, it breaks your heart. It breaks your heart every time.
I didn't mind seeing the scene because I knew it was going to happen. Like, because I listen to everything Filoni says. Like, if you've heard him on a panel, like he spills a lot of tea along the way.
That's true.
Before he gets to his destination. So I already kind of knew it was going to happen. But I remember my phone just blowing up. Everybody, congratulations, Ahsoka's back. I'm like, what just happened? Like, because I was in the shower at the time, and my phone just goes bing, 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 and I'm like washing my hair and trying to get my shit together, and I ended up like getting out of the shower, and I'm like, what's going on? And it was just an amazing moment. I kind of just let it go and moved on with my life because I couldn't continue to like hold the fire going anymore. Like, okay, I just have to accept it's over. And I was so glad it wasn't.
Yeah, I didn't mind it either because, like you guys said, there's so much more that was coming after that moment that it didn't feel like a big spoiler or anything, just because of everything else that was gonna happen. Is basically saying to all the fans, yes, everything you've been waiting for, Siege of Mandalore, it's coming. Here's just a very quick tease about it and get ready for what's coming.
I agree. I really prefer the Siege of Mandalore arc in the final season. I really was not a big fan of like the Bad Batch. Like I liked it, but I felt like it was really weak in comparison to what we knew was coming with so much serious stuff. Now in retrospect, it makes sense since that episode was already done and they have plans for the Bad Batch series. But I remember like watching that episode and being like, I mean, I'm excited that Clone Wars is back. But Siege of Mandalore really felt like, and even the stuff with some of like the Martinez sisters and stuff, I wasn't like a big fan of it. It was fun to see Ahsoka kind of exploring the galaxy, but once we hit the Siege of Mandalore and we really, wrote out those 4 episodes, that's when I was like, this is Clone Wars. This is what I've been waiting so many years to like recapture this feeling again.
Everybody doesn't want to speak over each other, but yeah.
Right. I'm trying to be very cautious of that.
So one of the scenes at the very beginning is Obi-Wan is like going to be taken down by some droids. And of course, who comes? And it's like Anakin's like, well, I already beat my droids. Let me just beat yours, Obi-Wan, because that's who Anakin is. And my question is Anakin really that good? Or is it because Palpatine didn't want him killed?
Oh, he's that good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
It's
I
too
also think
good,
it's awesome how he is that arrogant and in control of his powers, and then within the next few moments he sees Ahsoka and he's almost like unraveled and doesn't even know how to act. That you get the 2 extremes of his personality in such a short time is kind of, I feel like that was the setup almost of why he was so arrogant, to see the extreme of him being kind of like a little kid when he sees Ahsoka.
I sort of agree with that. Like it's clear that he's feeling himself in the battle or whatever, but it also speaks to the strength of his team, right? Because without Rex, without R2, without everybody in place where they need to be, could that really have been executed properly? Could he have been as successful? So yes, Anakin has got the goods. We all know that, but I also think he's got a heck of a team and he's got people that believe in him.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That actually, something that I completely believe is like the reason Ahsoka lives through Order 66 is because of her attachments. Because Rex loves her. He's able to fight through his programming and tell her about vibes. And so the thing that the Jedi keep harping about their attachments is actually like what most of the time gives Anakin strength and definitely is what saves Ahsoka.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
And Obi-Wan to an extent as well. I mean, his attachments save him as well.
Yeah.
I love that. One of my favorite scenes is when Anakin and when Obi-Wan's talking to him, and he's like, Anakin, what are you doing? He's like, why are you down there? And he's just like moving his head to the side, blaster bolts are going by him. Like we're saying, like that's just how good he is. Like we know that. Like we know how good of a Jedi is. But it is fun to see him in those various states of like, being that kid that we saw on in Phantom Menace, that little kid on Tatooine, and then you see him, this Jedi, and he still kind of has that kidness to him, but then he sees Ahsoka like somebody that he truly cares about, much like his mother and Padme. He feels deeply for her, and that just when he sees her, he does, like Andrea said, he becomes unraveled, and it's almost like a moment of him just showing who he really was, beyond just being this Jedi master that we all knew him to be. So it was really cool.
I like seeing the battle droids again being so clueless. Oh yeah, Jedi Master Anakin Skywalker is surrendering, and then the tactical droid, no, it's a trap. Shoot him. So, too late. Battle droids are just great.
I do like when Rex and the whole 501st are hanging on to the under the bridge, and R2 like tells them like they're almost there, and they're all like, Rex is like, oh, hang in there, everybody, and they're all like, sir, yes, sir, like just like, come on, dude, can we just not get out of this under this bridge now? I love it.
I think it's a great entry point at the beginning of that episode. I'm sorry to cut you off. I wasn't trying to do that, but I just think it's a great establishing piece when we jump into that first episode. It's Clone Wars at the height of Clone Wars being Clone Wars at its Clone Warsiest. So I think it's great.
It's good that they open up with those jokes, because I feel like once Maul is introduced, it's like, nope, it's real. It's real.
Yeah.
So, what did you guys think of Anakin changing Ahsoka's lightsabers?
I'm gonna step back and let everybody else talk. I want to monopolize the whole situation here, because I can go for hours about this.
I feel like Olivia's got some stuff to say.
It was an Anakin thing to do. He tinkered with them, and it was just so meaningful and cute. And you could just tell he was so excited to give them to her. Like you were saying, that little boy on Tatooine was there in that moment. And oh man, you could see Ahsoka just holding herself back because she was so hurt by everything that happened with the Jedi Order and leaving, and she was holding herself back from getting too attached. But I think in that moment, it just like, that was just her almost reconnecting with him on that level, that master and apprentice level again. It was just so, I loved it. It was really cute, but also it's also a cool start because it ties into the end.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the fact that Anakin thinks, 1, the war's going to end soon. 2, he's going to get his little sister back. 3, he's going to be a daddy. All these like really happy things. He has like this beautiful, bright, big, beautiful tomorrow coming up.
Yeah.
And
it's that thing that it just goes from that level down so quickly, knowing what happens to Revenge of the Sith, just in a couple of days, I guess, or hours. I don't know, 1 or 2 days, just from what you were saying, kind of just ends. His life basically ends from the high that he was about to experience when the war ends to where he finally ends a few days later. Just so heartbreaking. And to see the way that it was done in Clone Wars is a great way to go from it. And starting with him giving Ahsoka the tinkered with lightsabers is a great way to start it.
yeah,
it's interesting. It's interesting to.
I find it kind of
manipulated.
That's Maria. I'm kind of with you, because like a lightsaber is something very personal, right?
Right.
And that he changed. It's kind of like shows his ego, right? Ego in a way.
He's so great at building droids and building. I mean, to be fair, C-3PO lasts how long? I mean,
True.
Lasts longer than his children.
Skywalker. He is the last Skywalker.
He is. Oh my god.
The Rise of Skywalker is actually C-3PO.
That makes sense.
You heard it here first.
But Maria, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that it's sweet, but it's also kind of like another flag that Anakin isn't always ready to let go, right? Not only did he keep those, but he manipulated them. He injected himself into places where maybe he wasn't supposed to go. Maybe it was a personal relationship and connection that she had to those lightsabers. Maybe they were green for a specific reason, right? But he gets to the point where he loves something so much, he wants to control it. He wants to manipulate it. He wants to be all up in it. He won't let it go and let it breathe, because if it breathes, it could get away, right? So I just, yes, it's sweet, but it's also like, can I have something that's just mine? Is that okay?
He's the same way.
Both sides of that.
Do you remember the arc with Padme, and I can't remember the senator's name that she like had a passive?
Clovis.
Yes. And like Anakin really like not a great person.
Okay,
Yeah, no.
my theory is if he didn't knock her up, they would have been over.
Yes,
I
fully
feel like
believe
she was trying to get out.
Yeah, and then it was
But
like, well,
tale as old as time. Girl got pregnant.
Got stuck with her kind of psycho boyfriend, husband.
Right?
It's just like, oh no.
But I think, like what you said, Maria, I think that's such a good observation on Anakin. He loves something until he breaks it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The character model is beautiful too.
It really is.
Yeah.
Very close to Hayden.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting to see Anakin, like, the last time we see him in Clone Wars, right before we see his downfall into Revenge of the Sith, he is, I think, like we've all kind of been saying, he's so happy. Like, he sees Ahsoka again for the first time. He gives her his the lightsabers that he tinkered with, gives them back to her. He is, with Rex, like in Obi-Wan's, like his family's there. And, I think, was it Candace or somebody said, like, he's so excited that he's saying, like, the war, this is all going to be over soon. We're all going to be back to normal. This is all going to be over. And then in like, what, an hour, he goes from that point to killing Dooku to going down the downward path of the dark side in the matter of what that was, like 2 weeks or something like that, or something like that, like 10 to 14 days that all transpires Revenge of the Sith. So it is like that last moment before he leaves and Ahsoka leaves. That's a knock to the heart too, because it's just like, we know what happens. Spoilers in Rebels, we know what happens. I won't say it, but we know what happens in Rebels. We know where that ends and what happens between those two. And it's just like, you watch those 2 episodes of Rebels after the Siege of Mandalore arc, changes everything.
Yeah, I did that yesterday just by chance because I've been doing my rewatch of Rebels, and it just happened to, those were the 2 next episodes, and it hits you so much harder. And just when Maul basically says, "Oh, Lady Tano running off again," when she goes, I think, to help Ezra or something, it just reverts to something happened like, what, 15, 16 years ago, but you just saw it 20 minutes ago. It's,
Dave,
and then, of course, Vader and
so
everything is so...
Dave tying everything together. Like, one thing I love, of course, you guys know I love Sabine. Ursa's right there. Her mom is right there. Like, everything's connected. Like, Rex is fighting with Ursa, like, against the Mandalorians. And I'm like, oh, and then Sabine's going to help him out later on and all that stuff. And yeah, these, like, him calling her Lady Tano, and you guys, we knew they had some kind of relationship, like, rivalry, the way he was talking to her in the Twilight of the Apprentice. And finally being able to see, like, why that was. And it was really interesting. I mean, I just have on my notes, I'm like, so this Clone Wars started coming out like when we all started getting quarantined, and I just have in my thing, stop touching your face, Obi-Wan Kenobi. It just bugs me. Okay, so let's talk about Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan in the poster is like really prominent, but honestly, he doesn't have that many scenes in this season.
No, which is a true crime as an Obi-Wan fan.
And the thing is, seeing him and Ahsoka like clash like that is my next question. So, are you team Obi-Wan or team Ahsoka?
Ooh. I'll say Ahsoka. She was right. I mean, she called him right. She called Obi-Wan out when he said they have to go save the Chancellor. And because of her, and you can tie that back to the previous 4 episodes in the series, because of what she went through with the Martell sisters, she saw what the Jedi Order was truly supposed to be. It's supposed to help people. Not supposed to be warriors, not supposed to be some generals. They're supposed to be going around the galaxy to keep peace and all that. And she learned that because of the Jedi turning their back on her. So when she called him out, that was a really interesting conversation that they had, because she basically told him, you guys are just following the Chancellor because you're playing politics. You guys are in the political arena when you shouldn't be. And the Jedi Order, should never be a part of that. But you are, and now you're doing this instead of saving, and helping somebody that actually needs it because of what's going on with Maul in Mandalore. So I'm Team Ahsoka on that conversation.
The waffle's back.
The waffle's
Waffle is back, baby. Back.
He just
Oh my God.
represents sometimes. Is anyone Team Obi-Wan? I'm curious.
Oh, Andrea.
Oh,
I will
yeah.
be. When I was rewatching the arc, I got a little annoyed with Ahsoka saying, "No, you're going to save the Chancellor," because as Jedi, they do have to look at a larger picture. But I do agree, like when you say like they shouldn't be playing politics, but unfortunately that's where they are at that point of their relationship with the Republic, with the galaxy, with the Senate, and all of that. And I know Obi-Wan sees that, and he has to make a choice. He's a great Jedi, and he's a responsible Jedi, and he went with what he knew was, I guess, their responsibility. It wasn't their choice, it was their responsibility of what they had to be in. So I am with Obi-Wan doing his duty.
It was a little cold bringing up Satine.
Yeah,
seriously,
that was a shot.
Yeah.
I'm like the number one Obi-Wan Satine lover.
Mhm.
And that really
That hurt.
to the core. I'll throw out a controversial opinion in which I think that Maul is the right one here.
Oh my God.
But that's because I tend to agree with the dark side when they point out the flaws of the Jedi.
Because they're real.
Yeah, they are.
Mhm.
And I can get in like a whole like anthropological tangent about just how perfect the way that the Jedi fall into aligning with politics. And I'm really curious to see how in the new series, the High Republic books, seeing the Jedi before they get themselves entangled into politics, because I think that's where the fall of the Jedi kind of pivots, because I think they let themselves then be governed by like who's going to help them, and when you start playing with politics, I think you start to lose the essence of what like the core beliefs are. And so I think that in that like frame of mind, I think that's why the dark side seems more appealing, because it's lawless and it's freer and it's like without entanglements, but also you're allowed to have attachments. So I think that's where Maul is a little bit more like, I don't know, he makes good points.
He does in his way.
Yeah.
And to the point where Ahsoka was about to join him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, before we get to that scene, let's just fan out for a second about Ahsoka just jumping out of a ship with no jetpack.
Right.
And Rex is like, I'm here for it. He's like fanning out too. He's like, you go. You go, Ahsoka.
I think that scene gives me chills every time I watch it, because it's her being, the Ahsoka Tano that we have known and grown up with, just kicking some butt, and then just the music. My God, Kevin Kiner, pulling at the heartstrings every time. Like just how she goes from ship to ship, the music playing, and then that sweet drop from the ship down to the ground roll with the sabers out, and then the big explosion. I mean, it was so good. It was just so good.
Fact that it was a girl. So Alberto, is this how dudes feel all the time?
Yes, of course.
Alberto,
Big
can you comment on that?
explosions, impossible jumps, it doesn't matter. Yeah, bring it all in. It just have to be a little bit more slow motion, and then
Okay, because I'm just like seeing a woman like be this action hero and be this Jedi Knight. Because like, as everyone, Alberto, it's not talking to you, but little girls, didn't we all want to be Jedi Knights? Like, I wanted to be Princess Leia, but I also wanted to be a Jedi Knight.
Yeah,
I dressed up as Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith Anakin when I was like 12.
Oh.
Like
Nice.
I dressed up like Princess Leia, but I had a lightsaber.
Oh, that's cool.
I was a pirate for Halloween for like 3 years in a row. I don't know what that means.
Jedi pirate?
Dark side.
Hondo,
Just a
you're
regular
Hondo.
pirate with a hook.
you want us to be a smuggler.
There you go. Smuggler.
There we go.
There you go.
But yeah, that's probably one of the best scenes, I think, in the entire 4 arc, is her going from ship to ship, taking down those Mandalorians and doing what Ahsoka does best.
Yeah, and saving that clone that was stuck in his ship also goes to her. What happens at the end of the arc with her not wanting to kill any of the clones? It goes from that beginning. She's there saving him.
Well, that goes to what Anakin told Ahsoka when they were walking down that hallway, and they're everybody was saying Commander, Commander, and she was like, why? She's like, I'm not part of the Order anymore. Why are they doing that? And I love Anakin's response. It doesn't matter to the clones. You have been loyal to them from the very beginning, and they see that over anything else. So that makes sense.
And them painting their helmets.
Oh yeah,
the helmets were cute.
Yeah, that was another great little moment of seeing everybody in that. That was awesome.
But then it made Order 66 even worse because there's clones with painted Ahsoka helmets attacking her.
Yeah, it was tough.
So like, I'm interested. Like, what would you think if like we had no idea Order 66 was coming? It kind of changes like the way we would view it. Like, anybody got any opinions?
Yeah, kind of like what Lauren was saying about the clones being loyal and like Anakin throwing that out. I remember I wrote down the line actually was loyalty means everything to the clones. To hear that line and then to know that they were about to turn on the people that they were protecting and defending, it's like some crazy foreshadowing if you think about it, because they're about to go against what they're completely loyal to at the time.
Yeah. It's hard.
It really is.
It adds an extra bit also when Rex has to make that decision, because he's loyal to both. We know he has to do something to help Ahsoka, but their loyalty lies with her, but also with her brothers. So knowing that the turn is coming, how Rex is going to react to it, again, it's that great foreshadowing that we have to wait 3 episodes to figure out how it pans out. But it's a great line. And I also wrote it down when I got notes saying, what's your favorite quote? Okay, I got to go check what the quotes were.
Let's see here. Okay, so speaking of which, what is your favorite quote from this arc?
Mine is not.
Go ahead.
Who's going? I'm going to go.
Okay, go.
I'm gonna go. It's not like a good quote, but we were just talking about the scene is when Ahsoka says "race you to the surface." It's just the execution of it and the way it makes you feel, because the kidness of her, the childness of her comes back out, and because she was so serious with Anakin just a little bit before that. Now she's about to get into battle and do the things that she loves and kick butt, and just that cute little "race you to the surface" I love.
And it shows her and Rex's friendship, that they can get around like that. And, that they're BFFs.
They are.
They're BFFs.
And then even at the end when she says beat you. I love that part.
I love Ahsoka saying like your vision is flawed, because I'm like, that's gonna be my reaction gift for like so many things I disagree with.
I think I actually like the conversation, like her fighting back Obi-Wan, like that whole her whole little dialogue there, like the Jedi Order is not it's not what you guys are seeing. This is not what what I see it, and like I just love how she threw it back into Obi-Wan's face and was basically saying the Order is not what it should be, and I know that because of you guys turned your back on me. So I loved her, that whole like quote comment, what she said to Obi-Wan.
So favorite quote for the episode or the whole arc?
Whole arc.
Oh,
man.
There's so many good ones, right?
Yeah. So I wrote down a few, but I'll go with my initial one. There are 2, and it's both from Ahsoka when she lets Maul go and says, now go cause some chaos is what you're good at. And then when he wants a lightsaber or something, she says, I'm not rooting for you.
Yeah.
Which we know Maul, he's always been used because of his power. He's, especially in this arc, he's stronger with the Force, at least knowing what's going on and being attuned to what's happening, that we weren't used to this. So he's stronger with the Force that even he knows about he's only been used for his physical attachment to the Force, I guess. And Ahsoka saying, just go cause chaos, be a distraction, do what you're good at, the only thing you're worth, but I'm not going to help you. Something happens to you, you're on your own. I don't care what happens to you. So I love that, because at first I'm like, really, Ahsoka is letting him go, and then like, I don't care what happens to you, just go cause chaos and let me do my stuff. So I did like that kind of banter between the two of them at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that like Ahsoka and Maul were going to team up, and I was like,
Yeah.
you don't know Ahsoka.
Do you ship Ahsoka and Maul?
Maggie's Maggie's not making eye contact.
I have 2 Ahsoka ships that in a perfect world I would be like totally okay with, because obviously she's young.
Yeah, she's young.
Yeah, so like that's why I'm always like, I mean, not really, but like if she was older, I would ship her with Rex and I would ship her with Maul.
What with Rex?
Rex is okay because he's like
I know,
12.
but it's like it doesn't work because she's young, so it's like whatever.
I know. I like friendship ship.
I know it's
Rex
hard.
and
It's like
her.
Clone
It's
Wars,
hard.
like Star Wars in general. I find hard to actually like ship characters fully. It's like in theory, some of the ships are really cool, but I don't know.
Mm.
I really only ship Obi-Wan and Satine in the Clone Wars. That's like my go-to. But my favorite quote is a Rex quote.
Oh yes, go for
It's his sassy little. I never really liked being a commander, anyways.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Olivia, what's your favorite quote?
Mine is when Maul and Ahsoka, I think it's in the throne room on Mandalore, and she said something like, "Is like you can help the Jedi or whatever before it's too late," and he goes, "Too late for what? The Republic to fall? It already has, and you just can't do it. There is no justice, no law, no order, except for the one that I will replace it with." And that was like dope to me. Also, because I'm like a dark side kind of person. I love Maul, and I was like, oh snap, it's dark side is in its full power. Like, I don't know. But it was like sad, and because that's the truth, like there's nothing anyone could have done to prevent what was gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
I love that his prophecy, he kept kind of like trying to tell her that like what he's been prophesizing is like it's happening. And then he also says when he gets taken off, like we're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. Like it's got very dark. And I'm like, it's true though. Like, there's nothing that's gonna prevent what's gonna happen. And it's sad when you think about Revenge of the Sith too. And you're just like, wow, it's just really devastating to watch. It really is. But it was cool. Like it was powerful.
Yeah, Sam Whitner. Can we get a Sam Whitner like amen to his performance?
Oh my God!
Yeah,
just
great work
all around.
Yeah.
Maria, did you tell us your favorite quote?
You know, I kind of like the quippiness of the battle between Maul and Ahsoka, and she's like, "You should be glad Anakin's not here because you wouldn't have lasted." You know, I like that one. That one was really good. Maggie, are you a believer in Corky? Do you believe that he is unrelated? I've been thinking it. I've been sitting here. I'm sitting here. I'm like, does she believe it too?
Oh yeah, no,
okay, me too.
I have a bunch of images saved on my phone because they had Corky do that same chin thing that Obi-Wan does, and like it's so like obviously if they were actual actors, that'd be like, oh, it's just like, you know, a casual thing, but they're animated characters, which means that
on purpose.
Entirely on purpose.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I kind of
so weird.
It's so
He's
weird.
somebody's nephew, but we don't know who
it's
the mom is.
Not Bo-Katan's kid.
It's so weird. Yeah,
and
not. No.
And they say like Obi-Wan says like all her family was killed in the wars.
Right.
Like,
so whose kid is it again?
And he can just go into her throne room whenever he wants to.
Right.
Yeah. Like, you know, I'm just saying.
very comfortable with it. Yeah. So
there's a Dave Filoni quote somewhere from like a talk back that he did somewhere like a couple years ago. I found it a couple times. It's hard to track down because it's like somebody had recorded it on like Instagram or something, and he's talking about that there was like a really popular like Obi-Wan theory that was like actually true, and then he's like instantly starts talking about Satine right after it, and I'm like,
right. I do think that's how I lean as far as shipping for Ahsoka. Like, I really like the power of her and Senator Chuchi when they're together.
Yeah.
She is just she's almost a Padme figure. Senator Chuchi is like really strong at peacemaking and finding balance And she's kind of playing the Anakin role in that relationship because she's the one who doesn't give up for the truth when they're looking for the daughters, right? So I kind of lean, if I had to pick a ship for Ahsoka, of course, I believe that she is beyond a ship because she's bigger than a ship.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one, I would say her and Senator Chuchi.
I like that. She was awesome.
So, okay. So let's talk about Maul. I put in my notes, the way he's sitting on his throne is big D energy, but he has no D.
Poor Alberto.
I'll be back in a few minutes.
Men are so vain. I believe that
He got some. Yeah.
like, had one made, like a prosthetic.
I mean, he didn't go through all that
No,
trouble to do 8 spider legs and just
Just go on Tumblr. Trust me.
He made
We'll figure it out.
with Mother Towson.
Yeah,
He said, "Look,
use one of them spider legs. Yeah,
He's like, I don't need no legs, but you know what I do need?
yeah.
No wonder he wants to take down Obi-Wan.
You know how much people like buy Viagra? Like men are obsessed with that stuff. Like there's no way that he just took no for an answer here. Like he made
my God.
Oh, they're shipping people with everyone. He needs to be ready just in case it starts getting shipped.
Yeah, gotta be ready. Yeah, I guess so.
Chance. Oh my God.
Okay, we have a winner in the chat.
Oh my God. Okay.
Bye, Kyle. If you're still with us, I'm sorry you had to go.
You're missing out, man.
So my question is, so the reason Ahsoka is like, okay, well, I'm not going to join you because you say that we need to like destroy Anakin. And she's like, Anakin's my big bro. So no on that. And she doesn't believe him because he's like, oh, he's been groomed from the start. If he just said that Sidious was Palpatine, do you think she would have been like, it would have clicked and been like, yeah, that dude does have like a really strong relationship with Anakin?
I don't think so, because even when Obi-Wan told her earlier that he was on that mission, like through the Jedi Council to spy on him, she even kind of fought back with Obi on that point. Like, you know, that's Anakin is, and him and, you know, the Palpatine are very close. Like that's, you know, she was kind of worried of how he reacted. So it's an interesting point, Candace, but I think that she would have still reacted the same way that she did when Obi-Wan kind of told her. Like, I think she would have not believed Maul at that point either, though. But it would be interesting, though. It'd be interesting if he would have said it.
Yeah. It's like, why doesn't he just say it?
Right.
Yeah. I think throwing Anakin or what he wanted to do with Anakin and just kill him is what threw Ahsoka off. Obviously, if you could have found a way to keep that information away from her, then maybe she could have joined him. But, I mean, she has, and Sith, not always. I know people like to say that Sith don't lie. They do lie a lot. But he couldn't find a good lie to tell Ahsoka why he wanted Anakin over there. And that's when everything went down. Because, like you guys said, Ahsoka wasn't just going, oh, yeah, let's kill Anakin just because Maul says that we have to. It's not going to work.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the duel.
Ooh.
So, this is actually now my favorite duel in all of Star Wars. I always loved Duel of Fates before, but this, because we got the dual lightsabers, and then we have these two characters whose history we know so much more, of course, than Duel of Fates. We have no idea, like, at that point, who Maul is, what he is, you know? But here we have this history, and the way they fight, it shows, like, their character in a way. And it's like a dance, right? It's
definitely.
It's so beautiful. And the fact that they used, like, Ray Park, which might... Okay, that's a whole other thing with him. Yeah, Maggie's face is like, ugh. The fact that they use some people, real life people, to
mocap,
mocap it.
What I think is cool is because you would see Obi-Wan fight Dooku and you would see Maul fight like So you would see like next generation Force users fight old generation Force users. I feel like this was the best time for us to see the two new generation Force users come up and battle each other, which we hadn't seen ever, I don't think. I mean, even Ventress fighting Obi-Wan and stuff like that. But it just goes to show how powerful the Force was getting with these new up and coming Force users. And it's almost sad to know that within the next couple hours, the rest of the Jedi and the younger Jedi were going to be eliminated, because the potential of the Force in these new, like how they were learning, was so spectacular. So I loved seeing them fight, because it was like this new generation of Jedi Sith fighting.
Mm-hmm. It was powerful. I mean, just the whole feel of it was very cinematic. It wasn't animated. I mean, as we know, it's animated, but it felt very real. Felt very like, you know, you could see that in a movie. Like you could just feel that it was very cinematic. The music with it was amazing. Mm-hmm. The shot of when the glass breaks and it goes by them, like it was just brilliantly done by Filoni and the crew. Like it was amazing. But yeah, I think it was kind of a cool touch to have those mocap people. I think that gave it more of like a real feel instead of that kind of animated style that we're used to seeing. It gave it that little more of a realistic fight. Like it felt more of a cinematic, like I said, more of a cinematic fight than just like an animation fight.
It felt, like you said, more cinematic, because they were doing all the big jumps and stuff we are used to seeing in animation. It felt more real using mocaps, and the fighting style, and then the banter that you guys talked before, just the two of them talking throughout the fight, is something that we love in Star Wars, and it happens a lot in Clone Wars. But the animation for this season is great, and the fight, it just works a lot better also, and keeping it more grounded. Maul gets thrown through the wall of the window, and then you have the lightsaber just cut through it, and Ahsoka kind of just jumping through it. It's just a great fight, but the way it was designed and choreographed, it just works great. Not my favorite, but it's up there.
The cinematography is just beautiful from start to finish. She comes into the room, Bo-Katan and the clones end up leaving. Before they even jump out the window, they have this moment of dialogue. She runs at him, similar to the daughter when the daughter and the son have that fight on Mortis. It's the same exact alignment. She's coming at him just like the daughter was coming at the son. They start to interact, they clash, boom. It's this almost a mirror image of what happened on Mortis. And I really love that there's those touchstones back to other Clone Wars interactions and fight scenes. And then they get into it. They're on the balance beam. They're on this literal timeline. And the winner of this fight could very well change the course of Star Wars history as we know it, right? It's an option. And they're in this balance beam looking. It almost looks like a spider web, and I have to credit Rihanna for this from Sistas. She was the one who brought it up the other night. Like they're in this web, i.e. Palpatine's web, right? Because we're at the 0 hour of Order 66. They're in the eye of the storm. They're in his web now, and they're trying to fight their way out. So she's hanging off. She ends up with no lightsabers, nothing. Right by the end of it, and I'm like, oh my God, how are we gonna win this? Like, and she's on the edge, right? And I just thought it was a wonderful like allegory for Ahsoka as a general character in the story. Like she's on the fringe. She is not the center of the story, right? She's the center of this story, but she's on the edge. And Rex looks up and sees her dangling, and in that moment, I feel like Rex is us, the fans, right? We're watching all of what's going on in the Clone Wars, and we're like, wait a minute, there's Ahsoka, don't let her fall. And what does Rex do? Like he goes and he brings the battalion. The fans came in, right? And we decided, no, we're not done yet. And we grabbed her. It was like the most emotional thing I'd ever seen. I'm like, oh my God. And she won with no lightsaber. I was like, oh my God, we did it. Like, and I did nothing but sit on the couch and eat popcorn, but I felt like we won. But I feel like that whole battle, like there's just so much going on. There's so many underlying like emotional through lines. And even if you think back to Mortis, right? Like the character that appears to young Ahsoka does not look like who we see in season 7. And I love that. I love that. I was surprised that it wasn't the same exact model. Filoni didn't go back and grab that, and he surely could have. I'm sure they have it somewhere. But that vision that she had of herself, she looked more regal and more beautiful, like more I guess more like Shakti, more regal than she is when we see her in her apex versus what she thought her apex would look like. And those two character models are just so important to me because it speaks to like my own experience. I didn't always know who I'd become, but I thought I would be this, bigger, beautifuler person, and her beauty is on the inside, not on the outside. And they could have really revved up her character model, and they didn't. And I really like the way that they went because it puts the strength in her and not on her outward appearance. So I'm done. Bye.
Okay, but Maria, speaking of what you were saying about the son and daughter, Sam plays both the son and Maul. So they definitely, there was some planning with that, right?
Hello.
They knew what they're doing. And of course, Ahsoka is saved by the daughter. And there's a lot of theories that go with that. That has that part in her. And yeah.
Agree.
That's a great point.
Liv, what you got?
Yeah, okay. So we got like 15 minutes left. So I think, guys, it's time to talk about Order 66.
No, I refuse.
Okay, so like that's the thing is like Ahsoka and Rex, they're on the Okay.
Vindicator? You're talking about the ship, Vindicator?
Yeah, the ship.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're on there and they're talking about the future and they're not sure like where they're going to be, but you can feel like they're happy because like they found out like Dooku's dead. The war's going to end soon, they think. But we know, guys, what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
And what did you guys think of the scene where Ahsoka like feels Order 66 in the Force and feels Anakin's downfall? I love that they were connected. And they used Hayden and Matt's voice in there.
Yes.
It was a nice touch that they did use Matt's voice at the end. And they use obviously Hayden's, lines and all that from Revenge of the Sith. It puts you in a different perspective, right? I mean, this is a totally different view of Order 66 that we have never seen. And seeing it through Ahsoka's eyes was hard because she felt what was going on and with Anakin and obviously her connection with him. She could see what was happening and she felt it, and you could just feel like her heart just like drop and just know that he did turn. She didn't want to believe it, and she didn't believe it until Rebels, until that moment.
Yeah,
I think she always fought the fact that that wasn't him, that didn't happen, that was just like a Force vision. I feel. Until she sees Anakin in Vader in that Rebels episode. So yeah, that, and then for her to go to Rex and say, hey, what, something's going on. And then for him to turn on her, well, that was just like, oh man, like it was rough. It was rough to watch for Ahsoka, for sure.
And okay, so in Rebels, Rex says, I never betrayed my Jedi. So I was like really shocked that I thought he would already had his chip removed before. Do you guys feel like that recons, or it's accurate what he was saying to Ezra and Kanan?
I think it's accurate though. Yeah. I think it's accurate.
I think he's manipulated. He did what he could before he fully turned to try to tell her, hey, go look, search for 5 or whatever he says. So he does fight it. He doesn't turn like all the others, Jesse and everyone else. No, we got Order 66. We got a job to do. He fought it, and then even afterwards, he knew I gotta save Ahsoka. I can't keep going with it. But this episode, this for me, is the music in episode 3 is my favorite music in all of Clone Wars. Yeah. It's so ethereal and suspenseful at the beginning. We know what's gonna happen. but it's
Just build
built
it.
so great. It's a great build up, and then when the turn comes, it changes, but it's still in the same vein. I love this. Is my favorite episode of the arc, and a lot of it has to do with the music in that one, in that episode.
I think when you're talking about Order 66, it's really important to note that at the same time that all that's happening, like, we're also seeing Rex lose the chip. So a slave is being freed, 2 children are being born, a woman is dying, and someone else is just falling to the dark side, all in that fail swoop at that time. Order 66 is like, I just look at it as this massive truck that hits Ahsoka, and she can't even get the license plate. Like, she just, boom, and it's done, you know, and I don't think that she was aware of everything that was happening in that moment because there was just so much going on. But as someone who loved someone and that person betrayed them, it's super painful in that moment. And I was able to kind of walk in her shoes because I've lived that story, and you don't want to believe it. And you can't believe that this is true. This person that you love, that you spent years and years with, they wouldn't do this. They couldn't do this, you know? So I think there's something to be said for the denial piece there as well. But when she starts taking on all that heavy fire, like I lost it. I started crying. I'm just like, oh my God, they all hate us. It was really emotional, but I loved it.
And the fact that
The tears in his eyes, though.
yeah,
The tears, the quick tears in his eyes. Oh gosh, that got me. That was beautiful. That was just such beautiful animation.
yeah.
And it was so quick.
And the fact that when
Loved it.
Ahsoka is trying to find the chip, she says, "I'm one with the Force. The Force is with me." And we
That
get a
got me.
Rogue One shout out. That got to me too, and it's like, and just her connection with Rex and everything like that, and just shows like, I don't know. It's just too many emotions because those are like my 2 favorite characters, like in all of Star Wars, like top 5, right in there are Rex and Ahsoka. So seeing them together and seeing them interact and seeing them fight and just feeling that helplessness that Rex was feeling, like Olivia said, those tears. Jesse, like we have Jesse there, and Jesse's has been like
I don't want to talk
clone
about
from the start.
I don't want to talk about it.
You don't want to talk about it. Maggie, you're on a panel for this. You have to talk about it.
I feel like the Clone Wars is just one long goodbye, like the entire series. Because when we watched Revenge of the Sith, we didn't have any attachment to the clones. We didn't really know them.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being really confused as a kid, thinking they were like stormtroopers and not really like recognizing like what the clones meant. But then the Clone Wars gave them all names and gave them all personalities and gave them all connections and, you know, specific likes and dislikes and, you know, even hopes for their own futures. And so I felt like it was just one really long goodbye. And I have a few choice words for Filoni for doing the whole Ahsoka, them painting their helmets for Ahsoka and knowing what's getting ready to happen and knowing that they're getting ready to turn on her and that they have no choice, that none of them, if given the choice, would turn on Ahsoka or any of the Jedi, most likely. I don't know. They might have some vendettas. They might be like, you never treated me like
the Jedi.
Because there's definitely Jedi that didn't treat the clones like people. And Ahsoka and Anakin and Obi-Wan, like they actually had connections with the clones. And so I feel like it made the loss so much more profound because we were losing characters we loved that otherwise just were clones that we didn't know. And that last scene when they put the guns in and they put their helmets on is just like,
yeah.
Filoni.
And that scene's like, it's called Victory and Death, and you know whose Victory and Death that is. And you just feel like that broke Ahsoka, but knowing what she's going to do in the future, that she is going to create this network, she's going to be the first real fulcrum, and like she with like Bail and Mon Mothma are going to literally like create the Rebel Alliance,
right?
And do that even after like everything that happened to her, which, you know what, I would not blame her for just like turning into like a ball and just sobbing for like 10 years, you know, because like that's some traumatic stuff, but it just shows like how strong she is and how she used this tragedy to like continue on and inspire her and not make their deaths in vain.
Well, so it's crazy too to think like as fans, we know what happened. Like we know what happens. Ahsoka lives. We know that, like, going into this.
Yeah.
We know Ahsoka and Rex make it out. But man, I was on the edge of my seat the entire episode. Like, are they gonna make it? Like, I know they do, but are they? Like, what's gonna happen? I mean, when Ahsoka's like flying literally in the air trying to grab on to Rex's ship, I'm like, and like you see her hand reach out, you're just like, oh my God, is she gonna grab it? What's gonna happen? Like, right? And that's just the power of Filoni. I mean, to be honest, that's the power of Filoni, knowing how to pull the strings, even though you know what happens. He's pulling those strings so well. And kind of like you said, Candace, too, like the whole, I'm one with the Force is with me. I mean, to pull that from Rogue One and to put it into Clone Wars, I mean, right. Like how, I mean, he's a genius. I mean, to be honest, Filoni is a genius when it comes to storytelling within Star Wars. He is. I mean, this is why, for me, the animation is probably some of the best storylines we get and some of the best Star Wars we get, hands down.
I love the I'm one with the Force moment. Like, it really shows like she tried everything that she could scientifically, and she fell back on those old, beginning Force lessons that she probably learned in the temple. Like, okay, I'm all out of like intelligent options. Like, I guess I'm gonna do this one. Like, I loved it. It was so it was a nice way, like you said, Lauren, to like tie everything together, but also it helps add validity to the whole Rogue One dissonance people had. Like, is this really something the Jedi did? Like, yeah, it's probably like their version of the Lord's Prayer or whatever. Like something really basic that they teach all the kids when they first get there. And it was just so beautiful to see.
Oh, speaking connections, Maul. We see his crime syndicate, which we see like so much of in Solo. I know my friends who are just movie fans were like so confused when they saw Maul at the end of Solo. I got so many text messages like, Candace, explain this to me. Why is he here? I thought Obi-Wan like stabby, choppy, choppy, as I say, choppy, choppy, yes. And like, I had to explain it to my friend, my co-host Brie, like so many times. Like, no, he's alive and he got robot legs, and just explaining like, and we get to see more in the season, like Maul truly in this crime syndicate. And I know some fans thought like his like inclusion in Solo was like fan service, but it really makes sense when like the full universe, the galaxy, and what happened.
God, I hope we get that a little bit in animation.
Yeah, we get to see. We see Paul Bettany's character,
Dryden Boss.
Yeah, we see him in the hologram.
So that was cool.
Even yesterday I had something similar when I was watching the arc. My wife sat down for a few minutes and said, "Oh, this is obviously before Phantom Menace because Darth Maul is there." And no, this is after. But didn't he get cut off in Hawa? Did they just glued him together? And
basically.
And then she just walked away. But yeah, it happens.
Yes, make Solo 2 happen, because I really want to know what happens to Maul, like in between being a crime syndicate to being like this ragged old
man,
and like rebels being like, what is he called? Old Master? What does he want?
Yeah, Old Man.
Yeah, you just watched it. Yeah, as they're calling him. So yeah, how he goes from that to that.
I do wonder if Bad Batch will touch on that at all.
That would be cool.
Like just a little bit, man. I mean, I don't know if they'll go full deep into it, but interesting.
Kind of hope that he crosses paths with Obi-Wan somehow in the Obi-Wan series.
God, yeah. Be interesting.
What if we get the Rebel scene in live action?
I'll die. I will die.
But like a different point of view of it in a way. Like a different.
Yeah.
I don't know. So much.
I just want to know who's going to play Ahsoka.
I just we'll wait for the Mandalorian to come out.
Oh boy.
We'll play it all of ourselves, and like she's not even in it.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm
I
thinking.
honestly hope
'Cause
that's. I hope that's
nothing
true.
official has ever been announced.
No.
We don't know.
No, it's all speculation. But
Yeah.
I think it's long overdue and it's time. And I think there's so much of an opportunity there, right? On so many levels. If it's a woman of color, then it brings young brown girls into the series that aren't really exposed to who she is. If it is someone bringing this character to live action, it gives the Clone Wars that much more exposure. It legitimizes the Clone Wars again for the 15th millionth time.
Yes.
It also provides young women with a new costuming option who haven't heard of Ahsoka. That's always good. It also gives more credence to Rise of Skywalker, the voices and whatever, and it puts more importance there. So it also would encourage people to read more books. It's a win, 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 win. And I could go on forever about how important this is.
I know.
But I'm just going to leave it with it does a lot for representation. It does a lot for women, and it does a lot for Lucasfilm to be on the forefront and get Ahsoka over. So this is the best time to put Ahsoka over, and it's long overdue. So I'm just either way. If we get her in the Mandalorian or we don't get her in the Mandalorian, I have faith that we will see her in live action. I believe very strongly that's why Dave Filoni is working on Mandalorian right now, is so that he can cross over. Like, this is a time for him to use the training wheels and move on. And I'm hoping that he's going to put a film or something together in live action to show us the end of her story.
Yeah.
And I hope at the end, Hayden Anakin is waiting for her.
I need her to find Ezra because
I know. I need Ezra.
God. That's what I really want.
She could do it.
I wonder what will Ezra be like by the time we get to him?
He's
old
man.
Thrawn.
Yeah.
For 2 decades, for like a decade or something.
He starts talking like Thrawn.
You know, is he
He's
still
like,
a Jedi?
Artwork. I'm going to judge it.
Yes. I love so many of the fan castings I've seen for the characters recently. Like, people who are like, I would love to see this character, like this actor play this character and stuff. I saw one for Ahsoka the other day that I was like, oh my gosh, now I'm so attached to this. It was Laura Harrier from Hollywood, and I can't unsee that now. And I'm just like, please.
I gotta check that out. Because I was Anna Diop. I was an Anna Diop fan. I think she's just gorgeous.
Yes. There's so many good ones.
And you trust Filoni. That's the whole thing.
Trust in the Filoni. Trust in the hat.
Right. Ahsoka's his baby. I mean, he created her from the beginning. So if and when they are ready to bring her in live action.
Well, technically, she was created by him and George.
George, right.
Right. They created her together, right?
Got 2 daddies. She got 2.
Yeah, 2 daddies. She was created because George wanted a role model for his daughters. He wanted for the girls, and I was like, "Well, it's about time, George." I'm just saying.
Right.
I'm just saying.
But
I'm excited.
Yeah, I trust him. So when they do that casting, though, I trust Dave to know. Because he's so familiar with her, he knows who and what he's looking for to play that character. So
okay. Well, kind of. Speaking of which, not really. Oh yeah, kind of. If you believe there's rumors about who could possibly be playing her, but trans rights are human rights.
Yes.
Hello.
Casual reminder.
Hello, reminder. Yeah.
That's a hell of a segue. I'm feeling it though.
But you get if you know, you know. If you know, you know.
I always hoped that Ashley would stay as the voice and they would just get a physical body, much like they do for Vader. So that was always my hope.
Or even Maul.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of sad that it doesn't look like that's the case. But if that turns out to be the case, I will be the most happy person in the world. Meeting Ashley was like an out-of-body experience. And I know she thought I was some kind of psycho, but it's like...
This is my daughter.
No. I wish. I wasn't even like... She wasn't even here yet. Ahsoka wasn't here yet. we had the embryo, but it was like frozen. So I'm just going on to this woman about my embryo, and she's like, what? What's happening? And I'm like, okay. And she's like, well, if everything goes right, like bring her here. We'll get whatever signed that you want to get signed, and we'll do whatever you want to do. I'm like, this lady wants me to leave her line super quickly.
I mean, other than that, Ashley's really great, and Ashley is such a fan of Star Wars. I think that helps too. Like, and she's so passionate about Ahsoka. That helps the fans also be like, we're passionate about her too. And it's just crazy. Like, I didn't like Ahsoka in the first movie.
That's okay.
I was a teenager. I was like, this is a kid's movie kind of thing. I'm too old for this, kind of thing. But then, like, I love her. I want to wrap her in blankets and keep her safe, but she doesn't need that because she's a strong, independent woman who's going to go kick some ass.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. She's going to save the day.
Right?
But yeah.
It's so funny how that character, like, I mean, just the character herself, like, you know, the introduction to her in the Clone Wars movie and how it wasn't well received, but by God, by the time we get to where we are,
everyone's behind her.
100%. Right, Maria. 100%.
Absolutely.
She's probably one of, if not the favorite characters of many fans, not just females, but males, like every type. Like, she is beloved.
You're right. But back then, they didn't want her.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It honestly just took me like...
I tell people.
It just took me like...
Were you with me?
Yeah. It just took me a few episodes of the series to actually be like, no, I love her. I love her. It was just that movie, which I was like, I'm too grown up for this kind of thing. Because you know how teenagers are. They're like, oh.
Yeah.
But so overall, like some of the best animation of Lucasfilm, this is
hands down.
Yep. I mean, even
I
want to
see this in theaters.
Like the first couple episodes before this, it's like 100% better than those ones in the last season. Like these last 4 episodes, you can tell they did everything they could do to make it like perfect in the animation to be perfect. Yeah,
it was definitely an event. Like the way that they introed it with the title and just the music behind it. I know when we talked to Kevin Kidner, he says they used like a choir from Budapest. Like it was just things you had never like felt before in the Clone Wars. And I also love how Kevin Kidner said like you couldn't have made that arc like 6 years ago. You needed to be like in this moment in time to be able to have the technology and the artistry and the music and all of it. It was like that's where it needed to be. So hands down, best Star Wars, I think.
Worth the wait, right?
Yeah.
Worth the wait. If we had to wait for it, it was definitely worth it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yep.
I can't believe how many lives Ahsoka has touched too. Not outside of the films, outside of Clone Wars. Like she means so much to so many people. Every time there's an Ahsoka Lives Day, the crowd's bigger than it was the year before, and it's amazing to watch people discover this character. And I'm just like, the best Star Wars character has never been featured in a Star Wars movie. Ironically. Right. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm talking about Ahsoka.
That's exactly what I was like. I have to have Marie on this panel because she understands. She loves Ahsoka, like just like I do. Like,
oh yeah,
she knows.
Ahsoka's taking a nap right now, so it was a good time for me to come on.
But yeah, I was like,
do this.
Like who is going to talk about this? I was like, yep, I know who.
Me. Yeah. I just can't say enough great things about her and the character. Like I have a lot of personal connection to the character, but also it's like, what a great gift for my daughter, and we're in a really special time for young girls. And just in general with some of the new content and cartoons that are coming out that are a lot more pro women than they were when I was a kid. We got like this rainbow chick and some bears with stuff on their bellies, and you better deal with it, bitch. Like
it was always one girl.
Like, Shira was cool.
Yeah,
like
she was
the one girl thing, just like Oberto's the only boy here. It was like, oh, there's a girl in there. That's it. That's all we need, kind of thing. Yeah. But
so I
she let it. She's action hero, and yeah, I get chills every thinking about her, like just jumping off that shit.
Oh God, yeah.
Going down, kicking butt. And like one of my favorite things, I forgot to mention this, during the duel is she does a really cool move and she does kind of like a smirk. And because she knows she is that good. And I was like,
yeah,
you are confident. You know it, because that's the whole thing of like women are supposed to be like, oh, we're supposed to be humble and stuff like that. But I'm like, but if you're Ahsoka level good, you give that smirk to Maul because you know you did something cool.
And Bo-Katan was right there with her.
Yeah, man.
Right there. She's like, I'm fine with it. I'm like, yes, queen.
I love how
Right
Bo
there
beats
with her.
Elmec's butt, man.
Oh,
the
yeah.
way Bo gives it to Elmec is awesome. Such a good
I
fight.
wish we had more Bo and Ahsoka interaction on screen, but you can just see that they like created this friendship.
Absolutely.
And trust.
And she becomes the regent of Mandalore, which is amazing.
Can't wait to get more of her.
Yeah, God, I hope Mandalorian. I hope that rumor is true. That she's in there.
Yeah.
Well, my only scoop for Mandalorian is Baby Yoda is in it.
There you go. That looks right.
Won't tell me anything else.
Mine makes noise.
Mine's all messed up.
Mine doesn't. I've been asking him for a comment.
It's not cool. It's kind of creepy.
That's disturbing.
That's right up there with
Isn't it?
The porgs. Oh, porgs.
Okay,
Adorable.
so let's promo ourselves. Maggie,
Okay.
where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Maggie of the Town, and I also write for Your Money Geek. I mostly write entertainment stuff because I'm managing editor of entertainment, but yeah, I try to write about a lot of Star Wars things.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Radio Rebel Pod, and we try to do live shows every Saturday at 5 p.m. here on YouTube.
You can follow me on Twitter at R2D2Step, and hear me and Lauren on the GALactic Podcast.
You can find me, Olivia, at Olive Gelato on Twitter or on our Sistas with Sabers Instagram account, which is just at Sistas with Sabers.
Hey, it's me, Maria. Hey, how's it going? It's me again. So you can find me on Twitter at Blurred Girl Jedi. You can find the podcast at Sabers with on Twitter as well if you're interested in learning more about Sistas with Sabers, our podcast.
First of all, Candace, thank you for putting this on. This was so much fun. Thanks for
Thank you.
inviting all
This
of
is my
us.
first live stream that I hosted. Like officially, like I did the Force Fest, but I had so much help with, and that was Skip Vocal and everything like this. But this is my first official live stream. I did it.
You did a great job.
Yeah, you did awesome. So you can follow me, Lauren, at Laurel Knows on Twitter, and you can follow the GALactic Podcast at the GALactic Pod on Twitter, and we are all over everywhere: Apple Pod, Google Play, Spotify. You'll find us. So yeah, thanks again, Candace. This was so much fun.
Same with Geeky Waffle. We're everywhere podcasts are. We're at Geeky_Waffle, and you can find me, Candace is a Geek, on Twitter because it's true. And I think that's it. And also, please check out our GoFundMe. We're still accepting donations for the Transgender Law Center because trans rights are human rights. This is the way.
All right.
So thank you all for joining us for our very first Waffle live stream. We did it. And we got to talk about this awesome arc, which is pretty much just an excuse for me to talk to my Star Wars friends about Ahsoka and Rex, my two favorite characters.
Right?
So thank you all for joining us. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
All the Baby Yoda say bye.